All right, so next I wanted to talk about AnswerAgent AI and the different releases that we've had. So this team's been busy. This team has been busy over the past few weeks. So overall, we have had 7 major production updates in the last few weeks, basically focused on making the platform more reliable, scalable, secure, easier to use. These are kind of our big things going into the end of the year, and big themes. So some of the things that we fixed was, one, we had a Docker issue with, essentially we were allowing the Prisma to install the latest version. I had to pin that to 5.22 because it was causing a 100% deployment failure rate. This was starting on November 19th. It was discovered and deployed and fixed, I think, on November 26th. But just to know that that did add some technical debt, meaning that our Prisma is pinned to this. So we do need to have a clear path for upgrade to 7.0 on that. Max, you worked a lot on the Stripe billing system and kind of the robustness here. We did have some learnings, which I'll go over on this, but essentially here, we had some problems with the billing sync cron job that's basically failed every 15 minutes when it had an invalid customer ID. We had follow-up prompts. They were missing the metadata. So it was causing different tracking apps. So you added that to be able to track the billing for the different follow-up prompts. And then also for local dev environments, we were getting hit with our own limits, making development a little hard. There's now a billing override. There's also a billing override for billing in dev so that you can set an environment variable and not be hit with a Stripe. We also have a brand new release to our marketing website. So one of the biggest challenges that we wanted to tackle with this was that we had feedback that our users couldn't find documentation, and also we had some poor conversion on the current version or on the past version of the website. So we did a few things. So first off, we did a full redesign of Asking Alpha, so our help bot, where you can ask any question about how AnswerAgent work. What is AnswerAgent? And it's going to go through. One thing I've noticed is that because I am using an agent flow, we want to get this out of this top one for the UI, but it should be more robust, has a little bit more information about AnswerAgent, is a little bit more prominent with the big button up here at the top right. Also, too, we've really streamlined what we're asking our prospects and users to do. One is either A, schedule a demo with us to get the full walkthrough. As we know, setting these up does take an integration with the team. And then also, two, starting an AI assessment. So we're going to be, as I mentioned in the marketing piece, we're going to be setting up some ads to drive traffic to this landing page, probably a little bit more optimized than this as I start to dig into this. But essentially, we have 3 ways to take an AI assessment. There's either A, the voice assessment, where you can literally just start a voice assessment. Just click on this. So you can take your assessment. You can also do a chat assessment. Found a bug. This will open up the chat to be able to start that assessment. And then, of course, hey, you still want to just have a personalized where you do it human one-on-one. You can also schedule a meeting. So essentially, the goal of all 3 of these is to get information about things like, what's their current setup? Have they tried AI? Are they just, AI curious? What are the different use cases? AI is just a tool. What are the actual business processes that you're trying to solve with AI? And also, too, do you have any requirements around HIPAA, certifications, around regulation? These are all things we want to, what are your security constraints? These are all things we want to identify as part of the assessment so that we can see how ready you are for AI. And at the end, well, we built it in using our Gamma integration. So getting a custom personalized recommendation based off of the information of what your strategy should be going into 2026 with a full implementation plan, and also a invitation to get a personalized demo that is completely customized to your needs. So yeah, we'll be running that this week. We also have a bit more of a streamlined how it works area, different sections of the site for the data engine and all the different integrations and why that's important, the Agent Studio, as well as the Intelligent Hub for doing on-demand dashboards and apps. And then all of the resources right here. So getting to your documentation, the API documentation, our entire learning center where you can get videos on prompting and building chat flows, as well as our blog that we've been keeping up with some of our different builder tips and some of the longer deep dives. So another big update we had was to our data engine API. So first off, so what is data engine? The data engine is essentially your ability to look at your data in either dashboard or in reports that is based off of a number of different data sources, from transcripts, calls, tickets, your chats even, domain research, URLs. This kind of gives you the ability to analyze all of these different types of data sources to be able to get insights. And what we delivered was the ability for you to now communicate with this in the API. So you can go in, and every single endpoint now has its own resource, and under the normal AnswerAgent API, under the data engine slug, that allows you to create new resources, get resources paginated, get an individual resource, and then update them and also delete them. So being able to get all of the information and the summaries and the tags and all of that information, while also combining it with whatever information you may have about tickets, domains, URLs, things like that. So for devs, this means that you can get instantly structured data for any AI agent very easily. You just hook up your systems, you start tagging it and summarizing it. That gives AI agents a very clean data lake to use. And so for things like RAG systems, your CRM integrations, you want to do support ticket automation, you want to find out information about what your customers are really asking for. This is what this is helping you to achieve. And we'll also make sure that all of it's done with inside your organization and ensures all the data privacy built in. We also integrated Claude Code into our workflows. So as you can see, you can go into any of our releases in the releases area of the workflow, or sorry, of the repo. But one of the things you'll see on these PRs is now we have Claude giving a full pull request comment on based off of what we're trying to accomplish and based off of our instructions. Is that right, Max? Because you set this up, correct?
Yes.
So this has been really helpful into getting that first pass so that Max doesn't have to tell me, hey, Brad, you need to fix these things first. Claude can tell me, and I can go and I can then put this into my Claude code instance, have it fix it. It then has contextual understanding. So as I reply to this content, it will start to update this as it goes and will help us to improve getting different releases out, but doing it in a way that helps reduce the friction of code reviews. So we're still going through, we're still reviewing everything, but this is a great intermediate step to kind of catch a lot of the easy things that we should be looking for in our code.
Yeah, I really like this. Also, we're using Codex and Copilot. So anytime we do a PR review, anytime we create a pull request, we have at least 3 agents checking it out. So definitely catches a lot of the critical issues you don't even think about sometimes. I've seen it caught, at least in my PR stuff that I missed, that was not going to be captured by your regular ESLint or TypeScript issues, logic errors sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So continue improving that, continue improving the prompts and the use of skills, the use of our existing Claude documentation. But this is really good addition, I think.
Yeah, it's been a really, really great addition. So excellent. Yeah, we'd love to see how that's set up, how that multi-agent architecture is set up, maybe as a builder tip content. Also, too, we had the linear MCP node that was rolled out. So using Linear's official SSE endpoint, and is something that I've been using in my chief sidekick. And one of the things that I realized too was that it says like, hey, give me all the tickets that were updated in the past week. And it said that there were 100 and some tickets updated. I was like, wait, what? So Prisma. So this was essentially, a lot of this was bulk activity is from content generation. So the different video transcripts, and this is being put out. So one of the things that I did is I actually created a content team, which we'll go over in our 101, to kind of segregate these tickets away from our answer agents, just so that we can kind of see what's the product releases, and then we can see what content was pushed out on that piece. So, but it was interesting. I was like, wait, 100 and some tickets. It was very interesting to see that. So yeah, great work on that, Diego, and being able to get information, helping to create decks like this very easy. We also deployed a new design system. So inside of the app, you can kind of see we do have this kind of classmorphic design system that we're rolling out. We also have the ability to switch over to light mode as well.
The table looks great.
Yeah, we're still rolling this out. But yeah, we'll need to look at the style of the tables. But this has been a great work. It's obviously a very large rollout, because we have it across multiple different platforms, across here, across our Chrome extension as well. So we'll be rolling that out across. I think my favorite part of it is the dark mode, the little blue highlighter on there. Really like that. So that kind of, if you notice, like too, it'll pulse too. We made some improvements to some of the templates and marketplace. So we're really focused on, making that more robust and kind of that agent canvas, as well as working on our build in public blogging system. We're trying to get that a little bit more streamlined, and then having those also too, perhaps like with the embedded videos, would be great for YouTube instead of just the link from Tela. It would be good to get those on the blog too. So it's been this isn't even everything this is since November 7th, but November was, a lot for this small team. So congratulations on this team. It's been a lot that we've been shipping, a lot of, high level risks. There's a lot of bugs and things like that we've focused on this past month, but really great work. So some of the technical insights, we need to get a direct path to Prisma 7, or decide whether or not we want to keep it at 5.22 for now and have a clear path for updating that. Although, given that they probably fix security incidents between 5.22 and 7, we'll probably need to prioritize that sooner rather than later. But we'll need to do some insights into what's been changed between those two, and see if there's any breaking changes that we'll need to fix. I also noticed this fail open design pattern, and this is something that I want to address. Essentially, both the Stripe and also the Fiddler guardrails that we have coming out implement what's called a fail open behavior. What that means is, like, if for whatever reason the external service fails, or service fails, which is not, we don't want that to happen. So we need to look into this a little bit better and to see how we can mitigate this so that it doesn't cause memory errors, if it doesn't cause issues for crashing. So I've seen a few of these issues, but we'll want to look a little bit more. You look, Max, comment, question?
Yeah, usually fail open, as far as I understand, means that if the service fails, the platform continues to work, which is how I remember implementing Fiddler guardrails, at least. The Stripe billing system may be different for sure, but what we can...
Yes, it does implement the fail open, which does yes. If the external services fail, the platform continues operating. Yes. So continuing this, yes. Sorry, my bad. I read that completely wrong. Yes, you are correct, Max. Sorry. Thank you for keeping me keeping me honest on that. So yes, good call. So we're also going to be focusing to, I know Max, you've been doing a lot of updates with the new flow wise, but we need to be thinking about multi-tenancy as first class citizen. What does that mean? We're everything from data engine to billing to document storage, chat flows, all of these things should be using the new multi-tenant permission systems that we'll be deploying. Probably have an update maybe next week, Max? Okay.
Yes.
On that and how we're doing that to ensure that we're following all the best practices now that FlowWise has true multi-tenancy support built in, which is fantastic. We've also have an emerging standard across MCPs, so we want to continue this standard as well as with the latest updates to the marketing website. I created some agents as well that can help document code. So it's really a non-negotiable. So with that update, there are some agents around documenting, particularly around the fact that we have credentials, components, and the documentation around those integrations. That's what those agents are really focused on so that it can keep all three of those in sync. And there's a linear ticket in there to help make that even more robust as part of the CI process. Yeah, and just some of the known issues, like I said, Prisma version is a little bit behind. Our Fiddler guardrails phase 1 is complete. We want to get some data engine tests and integration tests. That's planned for phase 2, and also talk a little bit about the blog automation and getting a little bit how we validate that before the different tests emerge and how do we create that review mechanism. So coming up next, so we're going to be finishing up Fiddler guardrails. So that's the, making sure that that's kind of put out there. We're going to be going into the UX updates, ensuring that, all of the different UX updates that we did with the new design, that we're getting the long tail, as we saw with the tables, those types of things, more compact view with the credential modal, as well as working on the data engine components. We all forgot we have basically creating FlowWise UI components for the 7 different resources. We already have them for domains, URLs, transcripts, and tags. That's the other one. So we'll be creating the components for each of the other ones. And then also too, we want to work more on always expanding our Claude code and our agent workflows on that.